We got Hot Take Tuesday coming at you. Our insiders from the Locked On Sooners Insider Program dropped their takes. We're going to react to what they had to say coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so our members over at the Locked On Sooners Insider Program, which you can be a part of if you just text the word SEC 2024 to 405 817 6711. I'm going to put that number up here on the screen for you. That's SEC 2024 to 405-817-6711. You also get 25% off your first month, in addition to 14 free days to be a part of the Locked On Sooners Insider Program. Ask the question to our insiders, what are you looking forward to with fall camp opening up this week? What position battles, which players are you expecting to see break out this year? Steve from the 918, speaking of breakout players, had this to say. He believes that Jaden Gibson on offense, Caden Woolard on defense are going to be his breakout picks.
That's interesting because I'm in the same camp. I've been buying a lot of Jaden Gibson's stock over the last few weeks because it's an opportunity for him now, right? You know, we saw Jalil Farouk kind of in like a boot, and Brent Venables mentioned that, you know, he should be ready, you know, right around fall camp. Andrew Anthony should be ready about the beginning of the season. That's two key wide receivers. It's going to open up the opportunity for the competition at the wide receiver room. And Gibson was stepping out last season. You saw him breaking out and moving forward. So I sense it's going to be like, all right, let's go ahead and give you a chance. You've got 3 games to really show us what you got. And then once we go up against Tennessee, then we'll know who's going to be ready to play. So keep this in mind. When it comes to the first 3 games of the season, don't expect that to be the locked-in, complete, 100% depth chart. That's going to change come Tennessee. Those first 3 games are going to be an opportunity to see what we got and see what we're working with. And I think that Gibson's going to be definitely taking advantage of that. And I've also bought all of the Caden Woolard stock, so I apologize if no more available. Exactly. I think he's going to potentially be an All-American, right? I mean, you come in with 13 and a half sacks. John, there's a great chance that he could walk in and do the damage similar to what a Jared Verse did at Florida State. We can't sleep on the fact that this dude was able to be a terrorist back in his day at Miami of Ohio. If he could translate that here, hey, man, I'm just saying. Jared Verse made himself a first-round pick. I think Kate Woolard can do something similar.
Yeah, Buffalo to Florida State, Miami of Ohio to Oklahoma. Here's hoping, man. I mean, if he can take that step and be that kind of a difference maker, that really changes everything for Oklahoma's defense, and it provides them a legit pass rusher on one side of the ball. With Jaden Gibson, I mean, dude, it's just now his time. Now's his time to go and take advantage of the opportunity that is there before him. I've been so impressed with this kid, you know, after his true freshman season in 2022, where it just didn't click for him. He had a couple drops, had a drop in the spring game the following offseason. And then in 2023, just took advantage of opportunities and made plays and made it with that mindset that you love to see out of a wide receiver one. He's got that mentality that's like, just throw me the ball, no matter where it's at, who it's against. I'm going to go get it, and I'm going to drag him to the end zone, TCU, along the way. So looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Richard from the 405 says he's looking forward to seeing how the defensive line and the edges come together. He's hoping they will be able to stop the quarterback fast, even if opposing offensive line units use max protect like they did last year.
Now, that one's intriguing there, right? If as he mentioned, if we see less max protect, which we will be going into SEC play where teams, they're a little more inflated about themselves. They feel like their lines can handle our guys. So yeah, they're gonna let it. But if we go out there and be as disruptive as we're expecting in these first 3 games, that's the question I want to ask everybody, right? How many points do you think we're going to give up in the first 3 games? If we can go out there and have an absurd ratio of points to defensive points to start the season, we may actually see that max protect come back, right? Teams made that inflated ego may start to drop, be like, whoa, we may actually need to pay attention to them. We didn't realize they were going to be this good, even though we've been preaching it this entire time. We've been telling y'all the one thing that jumps out the most about this team is the defense. And that defensive line of edges, I agree. That's going to be one that's going to be tough. And look, if you find a way to get Daniel Collier out there who runs a 4.5 40 at 260 pounds, them fast quarterbacks are going to struggle getting away from him. And that's what you want. You want dudes out there that's going to be that disruptive. And yeah, I like that take.
Yeah, it's a big take, and it's an important part of what Oklahoma needs to do this year is generate consistent pass rush. If you can get it up the middle from Dominic Williams, Dejon Terry, David Stone, Jaden Jackson, Grayson Halton, Davin Sears, if you can get it up the middle, those guys off the edge are going to eat. Ethan Downs, Caden Woolard, R. Mason Thomas, Adeboja Adebaware, Trace Ford, Danny Okoye, those dudes will feast if the quarterback doesn't really have any room to go up the middle. And I mean, we're going to see it against Tennessee. Like, is this pass rush improved? If they can contain a guy like Nico Iamaleava, who is a very good runner, that will tell us what this defensive front is going to be looking like for the rest of the year, because they're not going to face an athletic quarterback like that every single week, but they will face several. Jalen Milroe in Alabama, Nico, obviously that week. That might actually be about it. Jackson Dart can run a little bit. He's a pretty good runner.
He can scoot. Yeah.
He can scoot a little bit. So it'll be a good test that first week of SEC play against Nico. Final take here comes from Lamont out of the 3-2-3. He says he's looking forward to seeing how they divvy up those linebacker snaps. I trust the staff to devise a rotation that enables players like Lewis Carter, Jaren Kanak, Kobe McKenzie, Deshaun McCullough, and Sam Omasigo to thrive, contribute, and complement Stutzman and Kip Lewis.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? Because as we know, we mentioned this before, I talked about it a few times, that Phil Steele has this linebacker group as the second best in the country, period, like all of them. So everyone's high on these linebackers, and I see why, right? You bring in Stutzman, who, of course, is the floor general, but everyone behind him have shown that they can play, right? We saw Kip do some crazy stuff at like 210 pounds against Texas, right? We said Texas, the offensive line, and their guy's so big. No, he's going in the backfield, launching himself, knocking people down. Deshaun McCullough was holding up defensive tackles over 300 pounds and stopping runs back-to-back times, right? That 1 yard line goal stance was massive, and McCullough was in the middle of that. And then you still got the big guys of a Kobe McKenzie and Samuel Mosigo and Jaren Kanak, especially because Kobe McKenzie's bigger than Kenneth Murray was when he was here. So that's a very good one, because I'm very intrigued to see which pairs does he put out there together, right? Because he's going to have to pair certain dudes with others. And I sense that we'll probably see a good 3 deep rotation on a regular basis. I'm wondering if we see less than 400 snaps for each one of them. I'm wondering if we only see maybe 300-ish to 250 to 300-ish for each linebacker, because, yeah, we've got a lot that actually can play.
Yeah, I mean, I figure you see Danny Stutzman play 500-600 snaps just because he's Danny Stutzman. You don't want to take him off the field.
Fair.
But after that, I mean, you've got 4 stars in Lewis Carter and Jaren Kanak and Kobe McKenzie and Samuel Masigo. Deshaun McCullough was a dude that was very highly thought of coming out of Indiana, coming out of high school. I think he was even a 4-star coming out of high school and going to Indiana. Kip Lewis was a 4-star prospect in his own right too. So it's a blue chip group, and they've got this incredible amount of talent and this incredible depth. And I think you could see, in certain matchups, them go with a bigger group, a bigger duo, like Danny Stutzman and Kobe McKenzie paired up as their, inside linebackers. Or you might want to get a little bit more athletic, and you'll see some, Kip Lewis and Jaren Kanak combos at times, just to get that speed and athleticism on the field in certain situations. So it's going to be really, really fascinating to see how Zach Alley and Brent Venables deploy this linebacker group, because it's so talented. It's so talented. And you want to start getting these guys ramped up, because Stutzman is gone after this year. Depending on the kind of season that Jaren Kanak has, I mean, if he has this, bounce back, resurgent kind of season, he could potentially be gone to the NFL after this year. So you got to start getting guys like, Samuel Masigo and Lewis Carter ready to go and ready to contribute in 2025. They'll be contributors this year, but I mean, they're going to be asked to do a whole lot more coming up next year. If you want to be a part of Hot Take Tuesday or be a part of our mailbag segment on Fridays, make sure you're subscribed to the Locked On Sooners Insider Program by texting SEC 2024 or Sooners to 405-817-6711. You can get 14 days free, plus you can get 25% off your first month, again, by texting SEC 2024 to 405-817-6711 to get 25% off your first month. Follow Jay on Twitter at Unfair Sports, myself at John 9 Williams. The show on all the socials is at Locked On Sooners. Go check it out. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. And thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. We appreciate your time and the amount of interaction you give us, both in the YouTube comments and on the social media front as well. For your next listen, go check out the Locked On College Football Podcast. Spencer McLaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron. So make that your second listen of the day. He brings you discussion on the upcoming season and the ever-changing landscape of college athletics, including conference realignment, the transfer portal, NIL, new college football expanded playoffs, and more. Locked On College Football is available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I love Spencer's work. He's doing a phenomenal job with the Locked On College Football Podcast. So go check it out. Subscribe to that show wherever you get your podcast. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll catch you then. Boomer
Sooner.